I've spent a lot of time working on the Western Massachusetts agenda. And I serve on the Infrastructure Committee. At the top of my list is to produce a real infrastructure bill,
Yes.
not the phony infrastructure bill that Donald Trump keeps talking about, so that we can have the money to build the east-west rail. So that is absolutely at the top of my list, and I've worked as hard as humanly possible to get an infrastructure bill in order to accomplish that goal. It is central to ensuring that we continue to see the revitalization, and we can feel it, the bounce in the step here in Springfield as you walk up and down these streets. There's something very positive, very good happening here. On environment, the Western Massachusetts orientation is one that is looking towards the future. How do we deal with the issue of climate change, but how do we deal with it in a way that will create thousands of new jobs in installing the new infrastructure, the clean infrastructure in our country? And that's carpenters and roofers, it's electricians, it's all of the blue-collar workers who will be needed in order to do all of that work. It is the people who will be insulating our homes to a much higher level of efficiency so that we back out the fossil fuels from the Middle East. We just celebrated Veterans Day on Monday of this week. We have men and women in uniform over in the Middle East right now. And they're in Saudi Arabia protecting the oil wells of Saudi Arabia. They're in Syria protecting the oil in Syria. What's the answer? The answer is to dramatically increase the fuel economy standards of the vehicles which we drive and also dramatically reduce the amount of energy which we consume in our homes and our businesses so that we can tell those people in the Middle East that we don't need their oil any more than we need their sand. You know, because it absolutely is wrong that we export men and women in uniform over to the Middle East so we can import the oil from Saudi Arabia, from Iraq, from these other countries over there. It's just time for us to end this addiction which we have, because it goes right to our national security. It goes right to the essence of who we are. And in the bargain, we also reduce dramatically the greenhouse gases which young people in our country absolutely feel that the preceding generations have not dealt with, have not solved the problem. That's why with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I introduced the Green New Deal in February of this year. And since then, we have seen a transformation in the way in which this issue is discussed. And the way we do it is threefold. Number one, we say that the planet is dangerously warming. Our own scientists say that the temperature could rise by 9 degrees Fahrenheit by the year 2100. So in 81 years, 9 degrees Fahrenheit. There's a big difference between 79 degrees and 88 degrees in terms of how we relate to that heat. And that would cause upwards, according to our own scientists, a rise in sea level of upwards of 10 feet. For us, that's the Greenland ice cap just going into the ocean, and our sea levels would just dramatically rise. Everything from Provincetown up to Plum Island, but it would have dramatic impacts because of the ripple effect throughout our entire society. And then part two is we unleash this revolution of green energy technologies. We invent them, we deploy them, and then we export them to other countries as well, and we create millions of jobs in doing it, blue-collar jobs in the installation, in the manufacture of these technologies. And then number three, we do it in a way in this New Deal, in the Green New Deal, that deals with the fact that in many parts of the original New Deal, they forgot minority communities. They forgot to ensure that all of their interests would be advanced as well. So the way we wrote it is that the frontline communities, those people who are most impacted, are fully included right from the beginning. And that their union jobs are prevailing wages, but that minorities, frontline communities are not left behind, as they were in many parts of the original New Deal. And we do so so it's completely and totally inclusive. And it's a vision for the future that ensures that everyone is a part of it. So that has now catalyzed a debate in our country. Back in 2016, not one question was asked of Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton about climate change. Not one question. Well, we've solved that problem all across this country, but in Massachusetts especially, on college campuses, in high schools, in middle schools, this generation is up and saying, we have to solve this problem, and we have to do it while we ensure that it has intersectionality, that all parts of the community are involved, and that we don't leave anyone behind, because we know that historically, black and brown people have breathed different air than white people, that the suburbs don't have the same air as the inner city has, and we know that. And so that's all a part of what this program is all about. And you can just feel this energy being built into the political system here for 2019 and 2020, and I'm very proud of that. This Green New Deal has transformed this debate, finally, in our country. And I think I will just talk a little bit about one other issue, just coming back to opioids, which is that this is still an epidemic. It's still something that we see every single day. The sheriff was telling me about still this incredible incidents which is occurring out here in Western Massachusetts, and we just can't turn a blind eye to it. It's very real. So I've spent a lot of time working on this issue. I had an opioid summit out here in Springfield. I had an opioid summit in Holyoke. I've tried hard to focus attention on it so that the people would understand how necessary it is for us to spend the money to have the kinds of programs that can have children have to look to the history books, that there ever was such a thing as an opioid crisis. We have a long way to go. We have a lot of work to do. So far, I've been successful in doing a number of things. Number one, I was successful in passing a bill on a bipartisan basis. It was Marco Rubio and I and Rob Portman, and we were able to pass a bill for $65 million for fentanyl detection devices, $65 million, so that at our borders, at our airports, at postal facilities, you could pick up the fentanyl. $65 million, the most modern technology available. In fact, the largest drug bust in history was down in El Paso using one of those devices last year. Secondly, I went to Rand Paul and I said, you know, we have a problem. There aren't enough people who actually can dispense Suboxone, medically assisted treatment. So I said, we have to allow nurse practitioners and others. It just can't be physicians. There's too many people who need the help. So I got that law changed. I went to Lisa Murkowski and I said, you know, if we're going to spend billions of dollars, we need a scorecard. We need to see what the best practices are in all 50 states so we can move the whole country to the best practices as soon as possible. So that law passed. Then I noticed that in a couple of inner cities, communities, frontline communities, that there was an overlap between opioids and HIV and hepatitis C. So I went to Todd Young, actually, Republican from Indiana, and I said, I see that you have the same problem in your state. So we got that law passed to ensure that now at NIH, CDC, they are now studying this in terms of putting together prevention programs to deal with that issue. So, and finally, and I have a number of pieces of legislation dealing with how we treat prisoners as they're leaving or as they're entering the system, which I am also moving through the system. But also what I want to do, and I'm doing this with Senator Braun, also from Indiana, is that every bottle of opioids, so just have a warning on it. This could be dangerous because when physicians give opioids to your family, you think, well, they would not give us anything that's dangerous for our family members, right? And there's a bottle of 60 and it's sitting there in the cabinet. So what I want is a red bottle cap. And the bottle cap just said, this is dangerous. No, this can kill. Just so that if the whole system breaks down, if the pharmaceutical companies, if the pharmacists, if the physicians all let you down and now you have it in your home, that there's this final point here where the mothers and fathers, where the sisters and brothers, where anyone can see that that bottle is dangerous, right? And it's got the red warning on the top of it. So I'm going to work to get that passed in the next year so that at least the families can see what it is, right? And do whatever they can in order to protect their families. So I can't thank you all enough for being here. I'm in this race working all day long, 7 days a week. And I have been in the past, and I will continue to be back out here in Western Massachusetts to earn the support of every voter. And I am not going to stop until primary night next September. I am going to win this race, and I'm going to win it.